being able to properly find competitors and also being able to look at their ads and make a winning ad for yourself is something that is really important. And last month we made over 20,000 ad creatives. We've been able to find evergreen winning ads that we've been able to turn into multiple winning ads just by studying a competitor winning ad. So I'm going to show you the exact process that I use to analyze and also come up with ideas based off of competitors without directly copying. So in order to copy competitors, you need to find competitors. And one of the most important things is finding out direct competitors and also competitors that solve the problem that you're solving or giving people the desire that you're giving in a different way. Right? So they don't have to exactly have the same product or the same app that you do. It can be different, but it fulfills the same needs, wants, desires, pain points. So I'll give you an example here. If you have an app which tracks calories, a good example would be you look at apps that gives you fitness programs. Both of them helps you lose weight, but in two different ways. But essentially it's the same thing. So make sure you not only look at people like direct competitors, but you look at people that sell stuff that solves the problem that you're solving. The reason we need to have both of them is number one, having direct competitors, people selling the exact same thing that you're selling. Having that gives you direct ideas or direct data on what's working, but when you look at people that are solving the problems that you're solving using a different mechanism, you're going to find out what exactly they're talking about and what's working for them. So you're able to get much more data compared to direct competitors if you're looking at people who are selling stuff that solves the problem that you're trying to solve. And at the end of the day, you get a really good understanding about the people who buy your stuff when you look at everyone who's trying to sell to that audience. And the most important thing, end of the day, is just understanding who you're selling to and having a really good understanding on what they want. This is one of the easiest ways to do it. Just look at everyone who's trying to solve the problem that you're solving. But you're gonna have problems. I mean, we work with apps that are brand new, and there's literally no competitors, like direct competitors. So what we do is we just look at people that solve problems that are very similar to the problems that they're solving. And by this, we've been able to find winning ads just by copying it the right way, which is what I'm about to show you now. Now, before I get into how you can do it, I can show you what happens when you don't. I remember we once looked at a competitor and then created some ads, and they were bad. We made over 20 ads and they were bad. So it was a waste of resources, it was a waste of ad spend, and it was a waste of time, essentially. So it was a whole mess. It was horrible. Make sure that you study your competitors really, really well and get a very good understanding before you make ads based off of that. Because if you make the wrong decisions, you are cooked. So the first step is essentially finding a winning ad, which is pretty straightforward. I think there's a lot of videos on YouTube that you can look at on how you can find and locate a winning ads, and you can use different tools. Like I personally use Foreplay, and I'm pretty sure there's other tools as well. I like to use Foreplay and the ads as library. Those two are the ones that I prefer using. But essentially ads that has a lot of variations, they have been localized, they've been running for the longest period of time, stuff like that. Once you spot it, you know, okay, this ad is working. And your job here is once you find out a winning ad, you need to find out why this is a winning ad. You need to understand why does this work and how you can use it for your own advantage. So I like to start with identifying who exactly they're going after. What's the audience that they're targeting? So this comes to the demographics, so basically age, gender, and all the basic stuff, but also the awareness level of whoever we are going after. And this has been a really good game changer, just finding out and really understanding the awareness level. But don't get me wrong, right? We've personally had ads perform really, really well. It worked really well for people who didn't know anything about the product. So just because the competitor's ad is in a certain awareness level doesn't mean that you can't test it in the level that has worked really well for you. And once again, this is all creative stuff, right? It's very broad. There's no rule that, okay, you have to stick to the document that I'm showing. No, this is just to help you out a bit more whenever you are studying your competitors. And also one thing really important is you also identify what exact problem are they targeting here? What exact feature are they showcasing on the app? What exact desire that they're targeting, and basically all of that, and I'll get into that later, but that's also really important. But this is the first step, is just identifying who they're going after, the demographics and the awareness levels. And one more thing which is super effective but super time consuming, and it's such a headache to do, is looking at the variations that has been made on the winning creative of the competitor. So you can go and look at all the iterations that they have ran and then see whether they have worked or not. And this is why I think Foreplay is really good for this. In Foreplay, there's a feature called Spider where you can track every single ad a competitor would launch. And this way you can really monitor the iterations that they're running on the winning ad. This would save you a lot of time because you'll be able to find, okay, this iteration didn't work for this specific reason, so I'm not going to do it on my own. So you can really monitor what are the iterations that they're making on the winning ad. Okay, so going back to what I was saying on identifying why a specific ad has worked. So I've listed down most of the elements that came to my head when I was making this document. I mean, I didn't make this document. I just wrote down the things that I know when it comes to competitor analysis on like a random Google Doc. I put it into Claude and told Claude to generate me something like a presentation. That's what it is. That's why whatever I'm saying might sound a bit different from what's here. Going back to what I was saying, when I'm personally studying a winning creative, these are the elements that I really, really look out for. So the headline as in basically the text overlay at the beginning of the video or whatever is displayed at the top. And once again, all of these things would change how effective every single element would change depending on what you're selling. For example, we've had apps where changing the headline had improved performance, and we've had instances where changing the headline doesn't do anything at all. You need to understand what you're selling first, and everything that I'm saying might not apply to what you're selling. So we look at the headline. So headline would be pretty much the text on the screen whenever the ad starts, at the hook. The whole hook as a whole, what the script is, the angle, what exactly are they targeting here, the pictures used. So this could be the image or whatever is in the app. For example, if it's an app focused mainly towards generating pictures or editing or whatever, then you need to look at what the picture is. Like what exactly is the starting picture, what's the order the pictures are in, and basically find out what the pictures are. That's also super important. The style, whether it's a UGC video, whether it's a screen recording, whether it's just motion graphics, whether it's an animated video, whatever it is, the style, the duration of the ad, how long the ad is it 10 seconds, is it a minute, the type of videos used. Just like I said earlier, it all depends on the app. If it's a video app, the type of videos that are used. The format of the ad, basically how the ad is edited, or like the positioning of all these elements in the video. The editing style, the voiceover and actor, is it male, female, what's the tonality? Is the voiceover from a person that's old, young? Are they sad? Are they too fast? Does it sound AI? All of that. And the actual feature displayed in the ad. And by feature, what I mean is, if you have an app that can do several things at once, we need to look at what exact feature was highlighted in the app, right? For example, if you have an app that can do multiple things, maybe it can edit a video, it can help you create AI stuff, then we need to look at what was the feature that was highlighted in this specific ad. And one more thing is, whenever you're testing ad, what I found out the easiest to determine whether something works or not is just focusing on one feature at a time. But here's the thing, right? We've looked at competitors and we've noticed they're using a specific feature, but on our ads, the ads that we've ran, we found out talking about two features works the best. Then when we take that idea, we would test both. We would try one feature and both features, simply because what might work for them might not work for us. And also what they are doing might not be as good as what you are going to do, right? Their winning ad is not going to be as good as the ad that you're going to make. So it's always good to experiment with what's working for you and integrating it with the data that you get from the competitor. So one of my favorite ways is to just use AI. I like to use ChatGPT, and I'm starting to like Claude a bit. I haven't really experimented with it as much. Once I do, I'll make a video about AI tools. But pretty much, I like to use ChatGPT a lot. What I do is I put the competitors ad on there and I tell ChatGPT why it has worked based on all the elements that I talked about earlier. I would be like, and once again, use voice to text. I don't know if you're still typing stuff, you're missing out. Just turn on voice to text and then just talk as if you're talking to someone, as if you're explaining. And I just talk for a long period of time explaining why it would work. And also, if I have data, if I have seen iterations on the winning ad and why it doesn't work, then I can also tell it, hey, this is why it doesn't work. These are the things that they have tested. Keep that in mind as well when you're analyzing it. So yeah, once again, don't be afraid to give ChatGPT long prompts. What I found out is that the more detailed, the more iterations that you do to ChatGPT, by iterations, what I mean is when it gives an answer, you would tell them what type of answer you would like and what you think it did wrong. So make sure that you give a really detailed and long prompt whenever you're trying to analyze it. The reason we are feeding all this data is we can use it to get ideas from ChatGPT as well. We've generated so many scripts from ChatGPT, but once you get the script, you would have to modify it too. It's not perfect right off the bat based on my experience. Maybe I don't know how to prompt, but that's just been my experience. And just going back to what I was saying, you could use tools like Foreplay where they have a feature called Spider that's really effective. You can monitor everything a competitor does, which is pretty helpful. One more thing that's also important is when you are making decisions on why an ad worked, you're telling, okay, this is why it worked. You should also ask the question of why didn't they do this? Why haven't they tested this thing? Why haven't they tried this? Don't be afraid to question why they didn't do a certain thing. The reason I say this is I've gotten better ideas just by questioning why they didn't do this or whatever to their ad to make it better. So don't be afraid to question and always question, okay, why didn't they use this? Why didn't they use that? Well, I think if they used it, it would have been better. Then you would take that data and you would make an ad. You could also look at your own data. For example, if something's working for you, if a certain hook or a certain feature that you're showcasing works for you, you can question why haven't they tried this feature? Why haven't they tested this specific hook? You can question it and implement it to your own ads and then test it. There's no harm in doing that. So once you fully understand why an ad worked, now comes the fun part, copying it. So there's two ways that we like to go about making ads after we see a competitor. The first way is just creating a very, very close copy of it. And the other way is creating ads by being inspired by it. So when you are creating ads that are very similar to what the competitor has, you don't have to be too creative. What you're essentially doing is taking what they have and putting it to your own product and testing every single thing that they've tried. So maybe you have a similar hook, you talk about a similar feature of the app, you keep it a similar duration, and you're pretty much creating a very, very close copy of what they've done. This is pretty self-explanatory. I don't think there's too much to it. You're pretty much copying. But the other way is where you need to get creative. So now initially what we did was we really understood why the ad worked. These are the specific reasons why it worked. What we would do is we would grab all of that data and then make a brand new ad in a brand new way, a brand new editing style or whatever, a brand new ad just by the variables or the factors that made that ad successful. And this might be a little bit like the original ad, and that's fine. What you're doing is you just deassembled a winning ad and you're reassembling it in the way that you want. So here you would have to be creative and you would look at your own data on why your ad has worked. You would integrate them and you become really creative here. And both of these things worked. We've had success with both of them. So don't be afraid to test both. And I suggest you test both as well. It doesn't hurt to test more creatives. I don't think one's better than the other. Both of them work. We've had success with both. End of the day, it all comes down to how familiar you are with the brand and how interested and genuinely curious you are about the product that you're selling. Because sometimes I've seen ads, competitor ads, and I've just clicked new ideas right then and there without doing any of the things that I've talked about, like just by seeing it. So that doesn't really come from a document like this. That all comes down to your own creativity and how good your intuition is based on how much you've done for the certain product. So yeah, but don't be afraid to test, because end of the day, it's going to be data. If it doesn't work, okay, you know this doesn't work and you can avoid it in the future. If you have any questions regarding what I talked about, feel free to leave them in the comments down below and I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.